Onda to možemo krenuti. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Nicola, and today I'm joined with my partner in crime, Alexander. Good evening, Alexander.
Good evening, Nicola. How do you do?
Doing good. How about you?
It's okay. It's okay. Chilling a little bit with you.
Nice. Okay. So for tonight, we're gonna go, as we said, on proving the origins of Quran from the Jewish tradition, to be more precise, from the Talmud. So, Sasha, I can let you take this over and go with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. No problem. It's not just Talmud. It's also additional Jewish sources like later Targums, Jewish Midrash, and even Jewish Valdic legends. But what's going on in Quran is the most of the referencing in Quran is not Torah. It's from extra biblical sources. And that's the reason that, for example, you will see one story in the Bible, and same story is written in Quran but on different manner, and it's similar but not the same. The main reason from that is that Quran basically take the story not from the Bible directly, but from the Talmudic writings or Jewish mysticism or Jewish later targums like Targum Sheni, or at least same sources that was used for the Targum Sheni, for example. So I will start my little presentation. So we will see, for example, that basically, just I want to see. Yeah, this one. We will see, for example, that official Islamic history, like people basically claiming from Islamic side, is mostly wrong, fabricated, or big misunderstanding of original historical events that happened in the 6th, 7th, and 8th century. So, for example, you probably know for the Islamic story that Islam started in Mecca. After that, so-called Prophet Mohammad moved to Medina.
Yeah.
But originally, Islam didn't start in Hijaz, especially not in Mecca. Archaeology history shows it. For example, 10 years ago, you have only 4 archaeological excavations with rock inscriptions in Arabia. Now you have more than 40. That was like rock inscriptions, and plenty of them that are found in Arabian Peninsula, usually next to the caravan or pilgrimage roads. What we see from that rock inscriptions, and by the way, that research is done by Dr. Ahmad Al-Jalal, a Muslim Arab, so he was not biased, show that in 6th, 7th century, paganism basically died in Arabia. And even if you can find some pagans, that they were basically small minority. So most of the people in Arabia were some kind of monotheists. Now, not all Christians, not all Jews, mixed from the various, let's say, fraction of the monotheists. And that's the reason that you can find, for example, the Arabs, Muslims didn't erase them. You can find a lot of pagan inscriptions prior to 5th century. But from the 6th and 7th century, inscriptions are basically 100% or almost 100% predominantly monotheistic. Jewish, Christian, Manichaean, Christian heretic, Jewish heretics, Sabian, or Mandean, how people call them. So basically monotheists, some kind of monotheists. So even rock inscriptions that, for example, follow road to Mecca shows that religious inscriptions, even pagan inscriptions, like prior to 5th century, when you are approaching to Petra, because Petra were in all times big pagan temple and place for pilgrimage. When you approach into the north of Arabia, close to Petra, percentage and number of the religions, pagan inscriptions are growing, growing. Also, when you approaching south, Yemen, because Yemen also had Kaaba, also Petra had Kaaba. Also, number of the rock inscriptions, pagan rock inscriptions, are growing in number and percentage. But if you are going closer to Mecca, today's Mecca, in the old times it was like village, nothing more. Probably in some say that maybe start existing only from 5th century. So when you're approaching to Mecca, you have just increasing number of, guess what, love poetry. So love poetry is not the religious poetry, is not the religious motivated, and it doesn't have sense if you will approach to Mecca, that was by Islamic history like main Arab pilgrimage site, even not just for the Arabs pagans, also for the Arabs Jews and for the Arabs Christians. It's pretty strange and unbelievable that basically you cannot find monotheistic inscriptions and polytheistic inscriptions with a religious context close to Mecca. So it's just low poetry that show that story about Meccan temple, Meccan Kaaba was later mentioned. And what Orientalists and a couple of my friends that are researching this will say, it's probably invented on the late 7th or early 8th century. Because when you want to create some myth, when you want to create some legend, you need the place without history. So people will not asking questions. You can building from the zero, And when you have state coverage of all that, you can create a legend. And for the people who think that is impossible, actually it's very possible. Many times in human history, legends were created even without state supporting them. But if you have central government who were strong and ruling with an iron fist and supporting scientists and writers and storytellers about some legend, that legend will become very, very wide. For example, in old times, in our lands, when the Turkish Empire ruled in the Balkan, we have invented the legend about Prince Marko. That Prince Marko was not a prince. He was some nobleman who ruled by one city and little bit more land around it. But he was good to the people. So they make so much legend about him. Most of the people, even up to 100 or 200 years ago, most of the people in Serbia and Montenegro believed that Marko, who was really a historical person, but they believed that he literally was some kind of Superman. And they did many wonders, many great battles, etc. But really history is completely different. So if that is possible with the people who are under the government, who actually fighting against that kind of legends, because that kind of legends will bring people the spirit to fight Turkish Emperor, then think what will happen if the government and like king and all his instruments supporting creating the legends.
Yeah, when the whole state is behind the whole narrative.
Exactly. It will be much more easier to create it, especially with illiterate people. And most of the people in that time were illiterate. And most of the literate people worked for the government, or they were alive probably.
So it was really easy to fabricate the stories.
Really, exactly. So let's do a little bit introduction. For example, why I'm showing this, because origin of Islam start on north, and after that pick some element from south, from the Yemen, but is nowhere is Hijaz. Here you can see Christians. You see Christians. You see the Christian state. You see this blue is like Christian so-called heretics and church councils. So you will see that northern of Arabia, especially with the border with the Persians, with the Ghassanid Empire, kingdom, you have predominantly Christianity. It's not Byzantine or Roman Christianity. It's different, but it's Christianity. You have Nestorianism, you have other part. Now we will see also like this. This is if you see here, this is actually Aramaic speaking part. Again, northern of Arabia, and here is all South Arabian, South Semitic, and here is only Arabian. This is like here you cannot find many people. It's small amount of the people, and even them use heavily Aramaic language because it was like lingua franca of this part of the world for the trade, for the everything. So what's going on here? Why I'm telling you this? Because most of the sources that Quran borrowing are originally written on Aramaic. Talmudic sources were written Aramaic. Christian writings from this part of the world was mostly predominantly written on Aramaic, also from here. So you will see that the many even Christian apocryphal writings that were highly rejected in the Roman Byzantine Christianity still remained to use in other churches, like Nestorians, like Monophysites, like heretics, like Arians, here in this part, because this part here was part of the Persian Empire. So this was Byzantium, and this was part of the Persian Empire. And they were separated and not in good relationship with the Byzantine Church. So predominantly here or here, you can find a lot of legends that finished into the Quran, Christian and Jewish. So it's now, of course, a little more introduction. You see here, Hira. This place, Hira, is probably origin of the legend of the cave Hira, because something happened here. Here you have Christian, and you have also a lot of Jewish schools. Also you have Manichaean. So now, believe it or not, many for example, Sharia schools were next to the Jewish academies, believe it or not. And here you have concentration. You see, you hear Ctesiphon, here Hira, here you have concentration of the Christian, of the Jews, of the Manichaeans, Sabians, and
So
many
that
more.
would be modern day Iraq, right?
Yes, modern day Iraq. So this is spreading of Manichaeism, so-called Prophet Mani. So they were exterminated until 7th century from the Byzantine Empire, but they were very popular in the Persia. You see, they also managed to went to the China, went to the Tibet to spread the religion. They were in one moment of history, they were so influential that even Persian Empire considered it to take Manichaeism like state religion instead of the Zoroastrianism. But next ruler, he favored Zoroastrianism, so he started to killing basically Manichaeans. But they still remained here and remained in many parts of the empire. Also,
for those who don't know, sorry for interrupting. For those who don't know, what's Manichaeism all about?
Manichaeism is a Gnostic sect that were basically using many sources making their own religion. So it was mixed between Persian, between Gnostic sources, Christianity, Judaism. It was found by so-called Prophet Mani that took again idea from the older Gnostic sources. He was also called Seal of the Prophets, like Muhammad. He also had some kind of revelation, some kind of angel that was called Son of God came to him, and his sister that was called Holy Spirit. It was basically mixing. They have their own Gnostic library. So the Gnostic Gospels went in Quran through probably Manichaeans. And you will see, not in this presentation, but maybe sometimes in the future. And many people knows, for example, that Quran plagiarized sources from Gospel of Thomas, that is Gnostic fabrication, pseudepigrapha, and it was written by the Gnostics, not by the Saint Thomas. and basically it was written by the people who never even, I think, lived in Judea or even traveled throughout Judea. How we know that? Because geography is wrong, customs is wrong, descriptions are wrong. Only 2 towns are mentioned that gospel, like Bethlehem in Jerusalem. Guess what? I mean, that was written because why? Because the people who wrote it didn't know any more places in Judea. So this so-called gospel, basically Gnostic writings, were taken, and many others. Also, you will see that some churches, like Aramaic churches, blending some of the Gnostic stories, because Gnosticism sometimes managed to infiltrate into the church. So blending stories of pseudo Jeremiah, pseudo Matthew, it was found in one church on the north in the Syria-speaking area. And that's the reason actually that you have Mary, daughter of Harun, and the palm tree, or from pseudo Matthew. It's actually pseudo Jeremiah, I think. It's actually blending that stories, and in the 5th century church, it was made on the north of Arabia, that you have that kind of story on the icons, I think. So you can find it in the Stephen Shoemaker book. So basically, again, on the north, Islam took that story that was blending basically 2 Gnostic stories and put in Quran. Now, what I'm studying I'm studying the Jewish sources. For the other part, you will see in the end of the video, I give you many sources. I will give you many very good channels. So you will study throughout the channels other sources like Gnostic sources, Christian sources, Sabian sources. But I'm concentrated on the Jewish sources because most of the Quran is made from the Jewish sources. So you see here what I told you. Look how many Jewish academy, and look in the same area next to them, origins of Hanafi school, the oldest school, and after the Shafi school. So the Jewish academy were neighboring Islamic academies. So of course, one more proof that they stole a lot from the Jews and implementing the law and attributed falsely to Mohammad throughout hadiths. So let's start, for example, from the first example. You have Surah 263 in Quran, and you have Talmudic writings in Shabbat 88 and Abd Zarach 2b, verse 14, 15, 16. So we will see now the Surah 263. Just for the people who don't know what's going on in Surah 2. Surah 2 is basically mostly written about the Jews and about the Jews receiving the scripture, the Torah from Mount Sinai. And even the starting of that surah, contrary to what Islamic Dawah will tell you, doesn't start with this book like Quran. Is the book that you have no doubt in that is completely true. No, it's starting with sentence, that book. So now it's like talking about Torah, because starting to talk about Torah. So it's pretty illogical if you write in the Quran and you want to say for the Quran, that is book in which you should not doubt, to write that book. It will be more logical to write this book, which is completely true without any doubts. But Surah 2 starting with that book, basically, which is completely true. You don't have any doubts in Torah. So it's talking probably about Torah. So let's see here, for example. And recall when we took your covenant, children of Israel, to abide the Torah, and we raised over you the mountain, say, take what we have given you with determination, and remember what is in it. Perhaps you may become righteous. So this part of the Surah 2 is talking basically about Exodus and when Jews received the Torah from Mount Sinai. So if you go to biblical sources, you will not see that God lifted the mountain above the Jews, like here. But here you see when the Jews were receiving the Torah, it said, we raised over you the mountain, saying to you, take what we have given you with determination and remember what is in it. Perhaps you may become righteous. So let's start first from the explanation of the Jewish Midrash, of the Tafsir, sorry. So look here, Tafsir said the same stuff. And they add also explanation that God left the mountain above the Jews to threaten them, that he will basically kill them if they refuse to obey, if they refuse to receive the Torah. It's Ibn Kathir. It's one more pages with Ibn Kathir. Another report from Ibn Abbas, this is in Islam called Hibr al-Ummah, or main tafsirist, bigger mind for understanding of Quran.
Mm-hmm.
The Tur is type of mountain that vegetation grows, and if there is no vegetation, the mountain is not called Tur, which is wrong. Tur on Syriac is a mountain, nevertheless, having or without
vegetation or not, yeah.
Yeah. And in the hadith about the trials, Ibn Abbas said, whether the Jews refused to obey, Allah raised the mountain above their heads so that they would listen. So let's continue. So Allah threatened them with the mountain. He raised the mountain above them to threaten them that he will basically drop the mountain on them if they don't accept the Torah. This is Al-Tabari. This is Al-Tafsir.com official Islamic page from University of Kingdom of Jordan, Islamic University. So if you see here, he brought the root of the mountain out of the ground. So he raised it above them like a canopy. Al-Tur is Syriac, the mount for intimidation or fear. So here also, Al-Tabari explaining that Allah threatened to the Jews with the mountain. All narrations are like this. So also here, next narration, the mount was raised above them like a cloud, and it was said to them, you will believe it or it will fall on you. Same stuff here. So now I will try to come back a little bit, just a moment. We need to see now, just a moment. So we see what Islam is telling to us. Now, now we will see what actually Jewish source is telling us.
Yeah.
So it will be very funny. Just the moment, I think I messed up something, but I will find it very, very soon. Just a moment.
So to be quite fair and honest, Islam basically sounds like a bunch of nonsense, because I never heard any explanation like that in any Jewish or Christian source. So.
Well, actually, you can find it in the Jewish sources. You can find it.
Really?
Yeah. That's the reason. Now you will see what the Jews said, and it will be very, very interesting indeed, because literally the Jews said the same, and this story was taken from the Jewish sources. So look at this. When we skip this is Awad al-Zarach, Jewish Talmud. This is story, by the way, originated from the 3rd century. This is not the original story of the Jews, a legend of the Jews that they believe in the 1st century. You will see later why. So what is said? Holy One forced the mountain like a tube on Israel and said to them, if you accept Torah, it's better. And if not, there will be your burial. Interesting. So now Gemara teaches. The verse teaches that the Holy One, blessed be He, overturned the mountain, Mount Sinai, above the Jews like a basin. And he said to them, if you accept the Torah, excellent. And if not, there under the mountain will be your burial. Wow. Doesn't ring a bell?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yep. So now if you continue, for example, this is like Professor Rabbi Herbert Basher, and this is the Torah.com. Even the Jewish rabbis admitted that this story is not original. It's not from the 1st century, let's say like this. But this is story from the 3rd century, later. But they don't have problem with that because they know this is Midrash. This is legend by the rabbis, explanation of the Torah by the rabbis. So they don't have the problem, for example, if in the 1st century Jews believe in one story, but in the 3rd or 4th century, some rabbi invent a different story, they start to believe a different story, because this is their legends, their midrash, their sages, so they don't took it like word of God, you know.
Yeah, but one question: can you find any evidence for that in the Torah or in the Old Testament at all?
And not really. You have just some linguistic that rabbis try to explain throughout linguistic, but no, especially not this story that I show you, because this story is generated from the 3rd century. So look now, for example, in several midrashim, God lovingly lifted the Mount Sinai above the Israelites to protect them from the danger of the revelation. So basically, 1st century and probably earlier, Jewish rabbis believed that God lifted the mountain above the Jews, but not to threaten them, but to protect them from the thunders during the revelation, because when Torah were descending from the heaven, it was a lot of thunders, and Jews were scared. So God lifted the mountain above their heads to protect them from the thunders.
Wow.
So
it's a completely different narrative.
Yes, completely. So you see here, the basis for this midrash come from literal reading of the word, translating it underneath in the fact. Now they are explaining why they believe, but this is early Tanaic midrash. Melchita de Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Ishmael is living between 1st and 2nd century, and he was son of different Rabbi Ishmael who were high priest. So this story were probably from the not just 1st or 2nd century, probably even earlier. And this was original, let's say, original legend that Jewish rabbis believed in 1st century. But look now, in contrast to all these positive portraits of God covering Israel with the mountain, the Babylonian Talmud, this one that I showed you, apparently quoted from the 3rd century Halakhat Midrash. 3rd century. Melchita de Rashbi records a negative, frightening version of this midrash. And this midrash is what I show you. So it's 3rd century, or between 2nd and 3rd century. Basically, this midrash was younger than previous midrash. So in the 1st century, Jews believed that God lifted the mountain above them to protect them from the thunders. But from the 3rd century, another legend emerged. It was invented.
That he threatened them.
So Quran picked the wrong story. Even here, he didn't pick the original story. Yeah. And if you ask the Muslims, look, between Jesus and Muhammad, was any new revelations or was any new prophet? They will tell you no. No. Between Jesus and Muhammad, there are no single one new revelation and there are no single new one prophet. Then explain me, please, how the story that was invented on 2nd and 3rd century went into the Quran, the wrong story.
Yeah, exactly.
If they copied, for example, this Rabbi Ishmael story from the 1st century, they could get away with that and said, it was oral Torah, Jews had oral Torah, it was original story from 1st century. We don't know that Jesus confirmed it or denied it, you cannot do nothing. But they copied wrong story. They copied story that was generated in the 2nd century, 3rd century, like 100 or 200 years after Christ. After Christ went to heaven. So boom, it's wrong story.
Completely.
Yeah, this is this tafsirs like I show you. When the Jews refused to obey, Allah raised the mountain above their heads so that they would listen to threaten, basically. Here, intimidation of fear. He lead the mountain for intimidation to fear. He lead the mountain like a cloud. You will believe it or it will fall on you, just like I show you in the Talmud.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is first example. You have many more, but we'll start with the second. So now we have Shabbat 88b, verse 6, and also Surah 2, because talking about Jews. Al-Tabari for Surah 263, Surah 2, 55 to 56. Remember what I told you, that famous schools were next to the Jewish academies. So basically said, Surah 255, 56 said, and recall when you said, "Oh Moses, we will never believe you until we see Allah outright." So the thunderbolt took you while you were looking on. Then we will revive you, and after your death, that perhaps you will be grateful. So basically, they said to the Moses, "We will not believe you except we see Allah." with their own eyes. So when they saw Allah, the thunderbolt killed them, and after that God bring them to life. So maybe they will be grateful, they will believe and they will be good people. So this is Shabbat 88 from Talmud. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, every word and speech that come out of the Holy One's mouth, blessed be he, united the soul of Israel, who said, my soul will go forth in this word. And after the first speech was silence, what second speech did they receive? He sent down a dew that was going to bring the dead back to life. And he brought them back to life. It is said, the rain of alms, God will send down your inheritance and rejoice that you called it. Now this is explanation. And since their souls left their bodies from the first utterance, how did they receive the second utterance? Rather, God rained the dew upon them that in the future will receive the dead, and he will revive them, as he stated, your God poured down. So this is basically taken from here. Maybe not directly from Talmud, but same idea that was later maybe plagiarized in some Jewish mystical story or folk tale story, and it was written in Quran.
Wow.
So here we see Al-Tabari explanation from the Muhammad's companion Al-Tabari. So he said, then came wrath of God, and the thunderbolt struck them, so they all died. He said, then God revived them after they dead, and Moses said to them, take the book of God, and they said, no. He said, what happened to you? And they said, we died, and then come back to life.
Absolutely. Listen, it's not word for word, but the context is the same.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. So, for example, you have also Surah 6, 101 and Kohelet Rabak 4.8. Now, I put here dating, but when I will explain it, you will see that dating is not the problem. But I like to be precise. I don't like to lie. People like these Dava dudes. I like to present the arguments and the facts. So deal with it, live with it, do whatever you like. So Surah 6, 101 said, famous verse, he is the originator of the heavens and earth. How could he have a son when he does not have a companion or wife? And he created all things, and he is of all things knowing. So this is famous anti-Christian polemic.
Yeah.
And even in Islam today, you cannot say that God have a son in any sense, or the God is father in any sense.
Yeah.
So this is Kohelet Rabat 4.8, Midrash Rabach. There is one and not another. He also has no son or brother. He also has no son or brother. If he has no brother, from where would he have a son? It's very similar, but not the same, right? In the Surah of Quran is the wife, because he have no wife, he have no son. Here, because he have no brother, he have no son. But if you go to Alan Siegel, who studied these Jewish sources, he found 4 traditions that are older than Kohelet Rabak, which is compiled between 6th and 8th century, maybe even earlier. He found 4 sources that are older than this source that originally said he also has no wife. If he has no wife, from where would he have a son?
But notice that the brother is in quotes, so it might be that there's some other meaning to that Jewish word.
No, this is like he literally said something like that. The traditional understanding is, you see, this letter now it's on English, so we cannot. I'm not Hebrew speaker, so I cannot recognize it. Is not just to be constructed as brother, rather as consort. Or wife. Allen F. Siegel, 2 powers in heaven. And it's page 140, 141, and I read it. And he said he tracked 4 traditions that are older than Kohelet Rabach, and older traditions said consort. How God have a son because he have no consort. And so it's taken from the, again, Jewish sources that were, by the way, these Jewish sources is post-Christianity sources, and they were dealing with 2 powers in heaven from 2nd or 3rd century when they try to finally refute and reject one of the basically rabbinic teachings. It was not some Gnosticism, like it was not some heretical sect. It was part of the rabbinic Judaism, at least some schools that coming from the core of rabbinic Judaism. So this whole polemic came post-Christianity, from 2nd or 3rd century, when Jews try to reject this belief. Why? Because they expected Messiah in 1st century. They didn't accept Jesus like Messiah in 1st century. And because of this belief, many Jews becoming Christians, so they probably because of that try to reject it. You know. So again, these sources, these all 4 traditions that are predating Kohelet Rabbah, again, they are post-Christianity but prior to Islam. So they are again between Jesus and Muhammad. They were invented from the 2nd or 3rd century.
Yeah, but even in modern days, you have Jews that are messianic and who actually accept
Then you have the Jews
Jesus.
who are believing still in 2 powers in heaven. These beliefs, like standard Jewish, one of the standard Jewish beliefs, at least some Jewish rabbinic schools, were rejected in the 2nd, 3rd century. But again, from the 7th and 8th century, becoming again very popular between the Jews.
Yeah.
Interesting. Not all Jews, but many para-rabbinic Jewish branches.
Yeah.
So you see, there is one and not another. He also has no son or brother. He also has no son. How he can have he also have no son or brother? If he has no brother, from where would he have a son? Interesting. So that's basically let's say almost the same. But I told you, Alan Siegel find 4 traditions that are older than Kohelet Rabbah. They said he also has no son or wife. If he have no wife, from where he would have a son? It's copied from the Jewish sources again. 3rd century, 2nd or 3rd century, invented Jewish polemic against Christianity, basically. So much about Allah sent it from eternity in some heavenly tablet. Now this is example number 4. God is praying. Now you will see interesting stuff, because if you ask today the Vagandist, does God is praying? Because Arabic word in the Quran is literally praying. His first meaning of that word is praying. Blessing is maybe 5th meaning, the only 5th meaning, but first 2 or 3 meanings of that word is literally praying. So they will say, no, it's mean blessings, it's mean like this. No, it's mean praying.
It's where Allah prays with the angels for Muhammad, right?
Exactly. And Arabic dictionary says so, and you will see that Arabic also Islamic traditions with Sahih Hadith confirm it. Only this modern Salafis in the 21st century with Al-Albani try to literally Sahih Hadiths that were Sahih Hadiths in very famous Islamic scholars' book, proclaiming that they are daif or they are even rejected. So, but they bust themselves. You will see how. This is concept taken from Berekot 7a, again Jewish Talmud. So, this is Majmaj Zavad of Al-Haytami. This is, by the way, believe it or not, great Salafi scholar. They consider like their scholar. Maybe he was not their scholar, but they like him very much, you know. And the same Al-Haytami here, page, you will see 137, I cannot recall it. They said the same, that when Muhammad was on night journey, he went on heaven, and angel Gabriel basically was with him, and he stopped him and he said, Allah is praying. And Allah is praying, let my mercy overcome my anger, etc. And this is Sahih narration. How we see this? This is when we put automatic translation. Of course, I check it with Arabic speakers. Don't just to make for the audience clear. But because I wanted to show it, I took it also picture to text translation. So it said like here, by a bazaar included some did not know, on the authority of Abu Huraira, who was by Islamic narrative some Jew from Yemen, who knows who he was. He said, the messenger of God, may God praise and peace be upon him, said, I said, oh Gabriel, does your Lord, glory to be him, pray? He said, yes. I said, why he's praying, basically? He said, glory be to him, holy, my mercy precede my anger. It's not turning, it's anger. So Allah prayer, what is his prayer? Muhammad asked. He said, glory be to him, holy, my holy is actually basically 2 times, I think, in Arabic. My mercy precedes my anger. It was narrated by the Tabarani, As-Sagir, and Afsat, and its men are trustworthy or sahih.
Yeah.
So, because they will tell you that is the if, if you
Yeah.
ask them, they will tell you. This is, of course, I use automatic translation, and I will send you all the links of these sources, so nobody will tell you that you are lying or I'm lying or,
Yeah.
So, the book of Aleppo biography, book of the history of Aleppo, the human in the eyes of the biography of Al-Amin al-Mamun is Al-Halabi. It's also, as I heard, big Islamic scholar. So basically, he said here, then God Almighty said, Muhammad, what's Gabriel need? He said, oh God, you know the best. He said, Muhammad, this is basically just the name of the book. In next page here, you will see narration. Where I was amazed, and these 2 things, did Abu Bakr precede me to this station? Never mind. He think that some guys, his friend is also in heaven. He was wrong, never mind. But this is important. Why my Lord is independent of praying? Then the Almighty said, I am independent of praying for anyone. I only say, glory be to me, my mercy has preceded my wrath. So my prayers are mercy for you and your nation. So Allah is praying to himself. Now, now in Arabic is probably even worse. But look here, because here I don't see, gradation. I don't see gradation. Is it sahih? Is it daif? But here, and in a hadith whose narrators are trustworthy, hadith who is sahih. When I reached the 7th heaven, Gabriel, peace be upon him, said to me, slowly, meaning stop for a while, for your Lord is praying. I said, does he pray? In another version, how does he pray? And in another version, I said, oh, Gabriel, does your Lord pray? He said, yes. And I said, and what does he say? He said, he says, glory be to the Holy Lord of the angels and the spirits. My mercy has prevailed over my wrath. Or let my mercy prevail over my wrath. So, Allah, who is Unitarian God, who is not one God in 3 persons, he's praying to himself. We can explain it why Son is praying to the Father, why Father giving divinity to the Son, because we believe that God is one in 3 persons. Because one mind, one will, one nature, but sharing, in 3 persons. And yes, even in this world, people, human, could be one man and be in multiple persons. Of course, it's bad for the human. Usually, it's very bad for the human. Because human mind cannot sustain it. Because
it can't handle it.
Cannot handle it. Mind belongs to the nature. Plain and simple. Mind belongs to the nature. So human nature is not so perfect, so strong, so good. So the human mind can sustain multiple persons in him, but it's not good for him. He cannot sustain it for a long time. Because why? Human nature is imperfect. But look now, God nature is a perfect nature. It's almighty nature. It's like none other natures. And because mind belongs to the nature, that means the God mind is also perfect. So God mind and God nature can sustain to be one nature, one God, one mind, but in multiple persons, in 3 persons. That will be perfectly sustained. So this is just like logic for the people to understand that God can be one God, one nature, one mind, but 3 persons. Because even the human could be one human nature, one human mind, but he have multiple persons inside him. Only because the human nature is not perfect, and in the same sense, of course, human mind is not perfect, it's not all powerful, then human cannot sustain that. That's the reason we consider it disorder. This is like negative example. But God is positive example, because God nature is perfect and his mind is perfect. So he can perfectly be one God, one mind, one will in three persons.
But just I want to mention what we discussed before the stream, that even if you ask the Muslims these days, if God is uncreated, they'll tell you yes, he's uncreated. When you ask them about the spirit, is it created or uncreated, they'll tell you uncreated. But then you ask them, is spirit Allah, they'll tell you no. And then when you ask them, then there's already two, right? So
exactly.
when you ask them about exactly, so when you ask them about the Quran, is it created or uncreated, they'll tell you it's uncreated. But then you have three things that are uncreated and they're attributes of Allah,
but they
are not Allah.
Yeah, that's their akida problem. Now they using sophistry, trying to lie, to jumping left and right. But with people who knows stuff about philosophy and theology, they cannot run. They got busted all day long. Even me, who is not theologist, philosopher, if I go and speak with my friends that are very knowledgeable, they will give me 5 questions they cannot answer. Now it's only up to me how I'm a good debater to press them on that questions, nothing more. Just a moment, I need to plug my charger on my laptop. Just 10 seconds, please.
No problem. So guys, I hope you're enjoying this stream, because there's a lot of things I didn't know. I did study Islam for a while and I've been refuting it for a while, but I didn't really study this connection between Hebrew tradition and Islam. So it's really interesting, and there's a lot of things that I didn't know and that Sasha is willing to present tonight, and get us closer to this idea of how did Islam came to be as it is, which is really interesting when you look at Jewish sources and just realize which stories were actually taken word for word in Islam.
Yeah, and look now. This is also Hadith Qudsi. I told you that Al-Albani in 20th century, basically, he tried to downgrade many Sahih Hadiths to Da'if or to Mavdu, because he didn't like some stories. But for example, this is Sahih Qudsi that basically Al-Albani could not downgrade it, because it's narrated by Bukhari, Nasai, Ibn Majah. So look now, this is Sahih Qudsi is basically when Allah speaking directly. You hear hadiths where Muhammad is speaking, or Muhammad's companions are speaking, but Qudsi is when Allah is speaking directly. So look now, on the authority of Abu Huraira, again, Jew by the Islamic sources, who said that Messenger of Allah said, when Allah declared the creation, he pledged himself by writing in his book, which is laid down with him, my mercy prevails over my wrath. Similar like, this Sahih before. But he's praying in previous hadith. Here is written just that he wrote something in his book, but it's like part of his prayer from previous hadith. You see here also, now they change it, because I think of Rob Christian, they changed this translation, but this is old screenshot. Anas ibn Malik reported the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, said, if anyone says the prayer only once, Allah prays on him 10 times. And removes 10 errors from him. Now they said they changed the translation, bless him, not praise him, but bless him. But Arabic original said praying. So now from where this story is derived? Well, Rabbi Yochanan, this is Barakot 7a, also from the Talmud. It's blessings. I think it's Mishnah has 6 orders. Don't quote me on that, please. But I think it's from the or order that contain mostly like prayers, rituals, temple service, and etc. I forgot the name. I must check it in my notes. I'm not Hebrew speaker, so sometimes it's not easy to remember these Hebrew names.
Yeah.
So along the same lines, Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Yosei, from where is derived that the Holy One, blessed be He, prays. And he said, it will bring them to my holy mountain and make them joyful in the house of my prayer. The verse does not say the house of their prayer, but rather the house of my prayer. So Gemara asked, what does God pray? Similar like Muhammad in the previous hadith asked, does Allah pray?
Yeah.
So Rav Zutra Bartovia said that God said, may it be my will that my mercy will overcome my anger.
Yeah.
What Allah said in the previous hadith.
Exactly the same.
That His
Exactly.
mercy will
Word for word, the same thing.
yeah.
Word for word.
That His mercy will overcome His anger. And by the way,
Yeah.
this is like first line of this prayer. Now this continuation. But usually, I think from the Semitic people, and for our people, when we want to remind somebody about something, we usually just quote the first verse of some sentence of some poem or something like that to remind them. And I think it's also for the Arab and the Jews similar matter. So this is the point. It was the beginning of that prayer. So it's like reminding, for the rest of the prayer.
Yeah.
So because this prayer continued, my mercy prevail over my attributes, etc. But basically, this is the first line of that prayer, because the first line is usually the most important when you want to make some point, for the probably Jews and Arab side. So
He first makes the point and then explains the point afterwards.
So basically, that's the reason that they take just this part, that Allah's mercy overcome His anger, because it was point to give the hadiths is taken from the Jews.
Wow.
So now it's famous Surah 65:4 and Mishnah Yamot 4:10. So now for the Christian apologists, they would not like me because of this. Muslim apologists, they will definitely not like me because of this. But this is what I found during my research. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong. Maybe Quran took it wrong. The guy who wrote Quran took it wrong and explained it wrong, and that is the reason of the beginning is pedophilia in Islam.
Wow.
I'm not sure. But my original opinion is the Quran originally in 65:4 didn't referring to the prepubescent children. Later, when people try to probably translate some Aramaic word from Mishnah into Arabic, they misunderstood it and mistranslated, misunderstood it, especially the Persian scholars, because Bukhari, Tabari, all of them were Persians. Even the third teacher were Persian. So look at here. The 65:4 said 3 months period is also for the if you want to divorce a woman and you sleep with her, because you have 33:49 and verse 2:28, I think. Said basically, if you didn't sleep with your woman and you want to divorce her, she can go. She does not need to have period of waiting for the people to see if she is pregnant. Now in Sharia, you need to prove it. You need to bring the witnesses that there were no single minute in all your gathering together in your marriage that both of you were alone. If you can prove it that you were not alone with your wife, not a single minute into your marriage, you didn't sleep with her, and you have witnesses, then you can divorce her without waiting. Now, this verse is dealing with other situation. What if you have slept with your wife and you want to divorce her? And this verse said, now and those who no longer expect menstruation, that are older women, if you doubt their period is 3 months. If you want to divorce old woman that does not have periods because she's old. Also for those who have not menstruated.
Wow.
Also. And for those who are pregnant. This is now not important for this matter.
Yeah.
So now this one who have not menstruated, in all Arabic exogenesis and Islamic exogenesis, in Persian exogenesis that we have today, is said that is little prepubescent girls that you married and slept with them, and now you want to divorce them.
Wow.
But my humble opinion is that this was taken also from Mishnah and misunderstood and mis-exogenesis, not translated, but misunderstood and mis-explained wrongly. So in the Mishnah Yavamot, you have three opinions.
Mhm.
One opinion is basically that some women need to wait if you divorce them. The betrothal woman does not need to wait because you didn't marry yet. And that is one opinion. Second opinion, for example, that was most popular, was basically every woman need to wait. If you betroth the woman, even if you didn't marry her, even if you did not sleep with her, she needs to wait 3 months if you cut off the betrothal. Also, if you marry the woman, you didn't consummate the marriage, again, she needs to wait 3 months. Pregnant woman, after bringing a child, I think even they need to wait 3 months if the husband wants to divorce them. This is only one of three opinions in Mishnah. But none of these opinions presuppose that you can sleep with prepubescent. Even if you betrothal prepubescent girl, which Jews sometimes did in the Babylonian captivity, Babylonian actually exile, they didn't do in Judea. In Judea, it was even forbidden for some kind of betrothal. Kiddush in 41 verse 8, Rabbi Eliezer and then his friends said that, Rabbi Rav. But in the Babylonian exile, they allowed it. Like, betrothal, yes, but marriage, no. But what's happened? When they compiled Quran, put this verse there, probably original meaning was basically to wait. Even the betrothal one, who are even minor, you didn't marry them yet, they are betrothal, but they also need to wait, 3 months. But in the Jewish law, you cannot sleep with prepubescent. Contrary for what the people saying for Mishnah Nidach 5.4, no, it's wrong. Mishnah Nidach 5.4 actually presupposing that father broke the law. And now rabbis talking, what now? What are the rules? What are the obligations? What are the rights of that poor girl that her father broke the law and give prepubescent girl for some crazy dude to marry her and sleep with her? How we know that? Because in the same Mishnah Nidach, but chapter 13, B, verse 5 to 7, it's clearly said the one who is sleeping with prepubescent children is the bastard who delaying coming of Messiah. Sorry for my French, but Jewish rabbis were pretty bad. So Jews are still waiting the Messiah. In the time when they were writing the Mishnah was some kind of their so-called oral law. Now it's being questioned, is it oral law? Some yes, some no. Some of the Mishnah is God-inspired understanding of the written Torah given by the prophets and the smaller or bigger prophets sometimes, but not all, like Jewish rabbis claim, not all. But what is important here to understand that Mishnah forbid marriage of prepubescent children. The at least first 2 generations of the rabbis who wrote Mishnah forbid it definitely. So it's like Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer, student of Rabbi Akiva, etc., etc. Rav Yehuda, Rav Yeshua, etc. So they forbid it. If you go to Mishnah Nidach 13b 5 to 7, you will see that everybody who sleep with little children, delaying coming of Messiah, and they were waiting Messiah. They were waiting Messiah very badly because they want to get freedom of Persians, get freedom of Romans, to have again their own state, etc. Also, if you go to Kiddush in 41 verse 8, by Rabbi Eliezer, that was, I think, student of Rabbi Akiva, chief priest. It was said that even betrothal before the girl become Nara, it's forbidden. And in Jewish Talmudic law, Nara is 12 or 12.5 years old girl that reach puberty. Only then you can betrothal. And now by the Yavamot, I think, was it 60 or 90, 80? I cannot recall it. Sorry for my bad memory. I must check it. But basically, by Yavamot, between betrothal and real marriage need to pass 1 more year. So the bare minimum was 13.5 years in size of puberty. It was bare minimum. Usually in Palestine, archaeology shows that Jewish girls usually married between 17 and 21, believe it or not, because they found 16 rock inscription on the graves, Jewish woman graves, where was written where they were born, how old they were when they got married, and in all 16 grave rock inscription, the youngest one were 17.
Yeah.
The oldest one were 21. So it was basically between 17 and 21 usual time for the marriage of the girl in Palestine. When the Jews ran away from the Romans and were exiled to Persian Empire, to Babylonian captivity, they lost their state, they lost their temple, Sanhedrin, power to ruling between them. They were scattered. So they changed the law. How they changed the law? Basically, they just allowed the minimal age by Mishnah to be more often. So girls starting marrying with 13.5, 14, 15 years more often than in Judea. In Judea was average and normal between 17 and 21. In Babylonian captivity was probably something like 14, 15, 16. And that's it. So no Muslim propagandist. Mishnah, Talmud does not allow not raping, not sleeping with prepubescent children, and don't lie to the people to justify your
Sick behavior,
sick Sharia behavior. And even your Sharia took it wrong, because you literally took probably this law from the Jews and misunderstood it, misinterpreted directly your Quran and make crazy law. So
even for that time when people were, let's say, some kind of less civilized than today, although I would argue that we are more of animals than they were back then. I mean, even back then,
look,
marrying a 6-year-old girl and deflowering her at 9 is just sick.
Exactly, it was sick. Look, this is Rabbi Yehuda lived in basically early to middle 2nd century, and this is this law that all need to wait 3 months, even betrothal one, widows, divorced, betrothal one, every of them need to wait 3 months. So when they run to Babylonian captivity, they start to betrothal woman before they become Nara, before they become 12.5. They start to betrothal small children, but not married, just betrothal. And the same rule now was applying to the 5-year-old kid even. If somebody wants to betrothal and somebody wants to break betrothal, because for the Jews, betrothal is much more stronger than today betrothal. It was almost like they're married, but they don't live together, then don't sleep together, So somebody from the Persian scholars probably misunderstood. I'm like 90% sure that Quran originally doesn't teach pedophiles. So that basically somebody misunderstood this law from Mishnah that was copied in Quran, and that's the reason today you hear this crazy stuff. And this is Mishnah Nidach, like I said. So also 2nd century. He said basically the Messiah, son of David, will not come until all souls, the body can be finished. Baraita, this is like Baraita is also oral Torah. It's legends and sagas of the elders, of the wise elders from ancient times. They believe it like that, Jews. So Baraita teach that they marry minor girls who are not yet capable for bearing children. And that's the reason that Messiah will not come. Basically, this is verse 7. If you start reading with verse 5, you see 7. If you start reading from verse 5, it said they are basically like a bastards who are delaying coming of Messiah.
So basically, the Jewish law absolutely
yes,
demolishes that statement that you
Definitely.
can marry a prepubescent girl. Yeah.
Also, 2nd century Rabbi Eliezer, student of, I think, Rabbi Akiva. Mishnah teach a man can betroth his daughter when she's young woman, Nara. The Gemara refers to conformity. When she's young woman or Nara, yes, he can betroth, but when she is minor or Ketuna, no, he cannot betroth her. These statements support the opinions of Rav, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Eliezer. All main rabbis in the 2nd century. This is like three most famous, I think, rabbis in the 2nd century, plus Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yoshua. Sorry. So also Rabbi Onkelos, but never mind now. Now you see also Sanhedrin 76b when they said basically that once who marry his daughter to an old man is also forbidden, or minor son for an older wife, that it's not good.
Also
it's not good. It's not good. This is 3rd century. Now this is even in Babylonian captivity or exile, basically. When the temple was destroyed, the Jews were basically killed or expelled to Persia. You see, this is 3rd century. Early to mid 3rd century. Again, you see, you can marry them adjacent to their puberty, but basically, again, and this is for the son, but not for the wife, if I see here. So
basically, like Jewish law strictly forbids it.
Yeah, but here
as opposed to Islam.
Yeah, but do you see here like StreamYard? Stop sharing this small picture. Do you see on your screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, I will hide it. Yeah, now it's okay. So why the Persian scholars who were basically making narrative about Muhammad, making legends about him, making him a prophet, and historically he was not a prophet. He was the guy who united that all tribes from Arabia, Jews, Christian, Mandaeans, Sabaeans, Manichaeans, to attacking Byzantine and Persian Empire. And actually, historical Muhammad is couple persons, not just one guy. So there were blended stories and legends and folk tales and of all them together and adding more stuff to them. So this is original to the story. Persian school. One of the Middle Persian civil law provided that the girl might marry at the age of 9. But at the consummation of the union need to be delayed only until she reach age of 12. You see? But also another Persian school, it's already noted, some jurists held that in the case of shturik, the daughter had to abide by her father's choice, like in Islam. So father can marry prepubescent girl without her consent. Boom.
Yeah.
Because her marrying from the conduct of shturik belonged to the father. So they took it something from here to make this law. Because usually Persian schools, just to, for the Zoroastrians or whatever, not to curse me or swear on me, age of 15 was normal. Like most of the schools teach that age of 15, girl, that is like real time, must be married at 15. But you have some schools, Middle Persian, and by the way, this Middle Persian civil law school became popular in the 7th century, basically, when in the Sassanid Empire, literally in the time when Persian and Arab conquest happens. And I'm intentionally saying Persian and Arab conquest of Persia because it was not just Arabs, it was Persians and Arabs together dethroning the Sassanid dynasty. So this school was in that time popular, and they took it because of that. They probably took it later in 8th and 9th century because the teaching of this school becoming popular in basically 8th, 7th century. So they start to teach this crazy stuff even after that.
Also, I gotta mention that it says in the hadith that, and I think it's Bukhari, that it says that the father cannot reject his daughter being married to some man using the reason of age. Like he cannot reject.
It's in Sharia. It's in Sharia. Like
Yeah, yeah,
if the husband is good opportunity, father
yeah,
should marry his daughter even if she is prepubescent,
yeah,
and the daughter cannot oppose the father if she is prepubescent. She must marry the.
yeah. But also, it's mentioned that the reason for him rejecting the marriage cannot be the age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is also taken from here. You see, jurist
yeah.
Sturich,
Hmm.
or guardian of father.
Hmm.
You see, Sturich. So,
Hmm.
but now look, on a child right after majority or disagreed pre-arranged marriages, the prevalent practice seems to have been that he or she made his own choice. But
Mm.
you have these teachings, so they use it probably
Yeah.
to justify somebody's pedophiles, or maybe different stuff is in the problem. In 9th century, 8th century, the Shias, so-called Shias, proto-Shias, some party that also claim it right to rule the caliphate in
Hmm.
that time, starting Islam already start to spread already. Historically, people start to believe in some religion, Islam. It was created. It was not in the beginning.
Hmm.
Then they were claiming that Ali was Muhammad's cousin. He was all the time with him, so he's the real Khalifa. So they probably downgraded Aisha age, or invented even that Aisha girl. She was married by 9, so she was also from her childhood with Muhammad, so-called Muhammad. It
Hmm.
was because of the politics. So now this is also example about Abraham. The story goes like this: Abraham's father Terah had the shop with the pagan idols, and he was selling them. So Abraham didn't like it. So he said, "By God, I will have a plan for your status after you have gone away." He waited his father to left the shop. So he reduced them into the pieces, except for the biggest, that they may return to it. So they said, probably the people of the I think it was Ur of Chaldean,
Hmm.
even in Islam. They said, "Who did this to our gods? He is certainly one of the wrongdoers." They said, "He heard of you to mention them. He is called Abraham." They said, "Bring him before the eyes of the people so that they may witness." They say, "Are you the one who did this to our gods, O Abraham?" He said, "But it was the biggest." So basically, he said, "No, it was not me. It was the biggest one statue into the shop, only
Hmm.
one that is preserved." And asked them if they can speak. Now he's walking to them. They
Yeah.
turned to the one another and said, "You yourself are the wrongdoers." But they reverted to their old ideas. You certainly know that those do not speak. So basically, it's now Quran. Many times that is one of the reasons why Islamic history is false. When Quran is talking the stories, he's talking the stories like giving snippets of the stories, doesn't give exact explanation, doesn't give wide context. He's literally point one part of the story, presupposing that the audience already know the whole story.
Yeah.
So now, if you are telling me that pagans in Arabia 7th century were masters of Talmud, of Jewish folk text stories, or the Jewish Merkaba mysticism, or the Christian apocryphal writings, or the Christian original writings, of the extra biblical sources, Christian,
Then
Jewish,
they were basically everything but Muslims.
and they were everything but pagans. They were
Yeah.
doctors of theology. Every one of them, then they were expert in theology,
Yeah.
which is crazy. You are out of your mind if you presuppose that pagan Arabs in 7th century, that by the way historically didn't exist even in 7th century, knows all this stuff. Actually, Quran is here talking to the people who already know the story. So he's talking to the Christians, to the Jews, to the Sabians, to the Manichaeans. He is not
Mm.
talking to the pagans.
Yeah.
Name me what kind of pagan tribes know all these stories, know all these stories together. If
Yeah.
you even ask the regular Jew in that time, he would know many of these stories, but not all of them.
Not all of them. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So this is Bereshit Rabbah, also Talmud. The same story about Abraham, and he took a stick and broke the idols, and put the stick in the hand of the largest. Doesn't ring a bell?
Mm.
And they asked him what's happened with this idol Abraham, and he said he give them food, and they basically start fighting between each other who will take the food first. And thereupon the largest arose, took the stick, and broke them. And now they tell him, "Are you making sport of us?" And he asked, "Have they any knowledge?" Terah said, "Should not your ears hear what your mouth?" He said, Abraham said, Terah. Basically, now Abraham is mocking his father Terah. Similar, very similar story to the Quran. Basically, taken from his ideas, taken from his. Almost the same story.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's just copy paste, literally.
Literally, in Quran, Abraham broke the idols, put the stick into the biggest one, and said he did it. And
mocked them.
start mocking to a people. Here in Bereshit Rabbah, he also did the same stuff, but here he's mocking to his father. That is the only difference. But actually, it's not difference, because I think in Bereshit Rabbah also other people coming to him to protest why he broke the idols, etc. And now we have example 7. Some jinns are like humans and listen what God tell the angels. And Chagiga 16a6. So Talmud Chagiga, it's tractate of the order of Mishnah. So the Gemara returns to discussing the heavenly beings, the sages, or the stories of the ancients taught. 6 statements were said with regard to demons. In 3 ways they are like ministering angels, and in 3 ways they are like humans. And Islam, jinns could be like ministering angels, similar, and also humans and also animals. Now, not even the angels are privy to the future. Rather, they hear from behind a certain when God reveals something in the future, like ministering angels. Now they are discussing how the demons can know the future, and rabbis concluded that they don't know the future, but they are listening when God, in secret, when God is telling to the angels what will happen. And in 3 ways they are similar to humans. They eat and drink like humans, they multiply like humans, and they die like humans. Now, this is Babylonian Talmud predating. This is Islam QA, so now talking about the jinns. The answer to this is proven in the Sunnah prophetic teachings and from real life that the jinns appear in different forms, such as the forms of the people and animals. And now, about the jinns who knows the future, because you have that kind of questions. The fortune teller told him was something true that would happen in the future. Then it happened, and he said it would. This is something that the shaitan snatched from him from heavens, then passed it to the fortune teller.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a word from the jinn. The jinn snatched, and he cackled into the ear of his familiar, and a hen cackles, but they mix more than 100 lies with it. This is like messenger of Allah said. So basically, same story. Jewish rabbis said that demons, they are listening in secret sometimes when God, they are snitching close to heavens and listening when God is talking to angels, what will happen in the future, and they pass it to the fortune teller. Also here, in Sahih hadith from Bukhari Muslim, Muhammad said to the Jews that fortune teller knows something because jinns, shaitans, evil jinns, snitch close to heaven, close to first heaven, and they are listening what God is telling to the angels. What will happen into the future.
Yeah, basically the absolute same thing.
Yeah, but now you have also, of course, from Bukhari, Abu Huraira narrated. Now this is clear example of even, man-made stories. Man-made stories that doesn't have any clue how actually universe and God and angels and everything function. So, for example, here in Bukhari, from Abu Huraira, it's narrated that the Prophet said, when Allah decrees a matter in heaven, the angels beat their wings in submission to His word, making sound like a chain striking a rock. When the fear is banished from their hearts, they say, what is that your Lord has said? They said the truth, and He is the most high, the most great. Then the one who is listening out hears that, and those who are listening out, they are standing one above the other. Sufyan, one of the narrators, demonstrates with his hand holding it vertically with the finger outspread. So he, Shaitan, hears what is said and press it on the one below him, and the one pass it to the one who is below him, and so until they reach the lips of the soothsayer or the fortune teller. Maybe the matter will hit him before he can pass anything on, or maybe he will pass it before he is hit. So let me explain the context. So now Muhammad and this his companion now explaining how the shaitans know they are snitching close to first heaven, because you have 7 heavens like in Talmud also, and they are snitching what God is telling to the angels, and the angels telling to each other what God tell them what will happen in the future. And now jinns are basically one on another. So from first jinn on the earth, next jinn jump on his back, next jinn again jump on his shoulder, whatever, and now they are like making big tower of jinns until they reach first heaven, and they are listening, and sometimes now Allah is hitting them with the stars or lasers, basically with the stars, believe or not, lasers like from the stars, because they saw the meteors like falling in atmosphere. So they make legend that basically that meteors are actually some lasers that going from the stars that Allah hitting these shaitans. And sometimes when Allah hit the shaitan who is closest to first heaven, he didn't manage to pass down to the shaitan below him what God tell to the angels. And in that case, this story come to the fortune teller and he knows the future. But sometimes not. Sometimes this laser or meteor hit the shaitan that is closest to first heaven before he managed to pass down the information to the shaitan below him. So now look from scientific side. Where is first heaven? Where are the God and angels? If you take million, I think, shaitans, and every shaitan is 1 mile tall, and every shaitan step on the shoulders of each other, they will still not reach even the end of our galaxy. So, but where is the heaven then? You know, how they can reach even the heaven where are the angels? You know, basically between our universe and the heavenly realm. It's crazy. So it's like man-made story. You see here also same question from the Surah. He alone is knower of, now Suyuti tried to explain it, and the Hanafi fiqh, because he said that God is only knower of unseen, and he reveals to none except to a messenger whom he has chosen. He informs him unseen as much as he likes, and then he makes a band of watching guards, angels, to march before him and behind him. So why does Allah say that he reveals nothing to Gaib, to none? Could it be that Allah here is referring to humans, that he reveals nothing to Gaib or to humans, but he does inform the angels? Or is it possible that these verses have been translated incorrectly? Now his answer. Your basic description of the dropping of jinn and their passing information on the fortune teller is correct, based on the Quran and prophetic reports. So now the jinns have stations. Here you see 11 stations from which they would listen were found guarded by angels. Moreover, when they still attempt to listen, they would be pelted by piercing flames, shihab. When they tried to investigate the matter, they came to know that the new prophet had arrived in Arabian Peninsula. Allah cast out the jinn with piercing flames, basically stars in the I think original verse, to end that phase of eavesdropping, with the exception of stealth hearing. So some jinns managed to trick Allah by a few jinn, and we are then kicked out and pursued with flames. Who are then kicked out and pursued by flames? So,
but just the idea that a jinn can trick Allah is just
well, like Allah, no, Allah allows to happen. You know, Allah allows to happen. No, please don't.
Allah guides whom He wills.
Yeah. So look now. There is actually a section in Sahih Bukhari, the book of Tafsir, entitled his statement, except for any who curse in stealth and is then pursued by clean flame. So now the hadith is this section describes how the jinns climbs one of top of another, according to the narrator, like one hand over another. So now think how many million jinns you will need it to reach the end of our galaxy. Nevertheless, to come to the heaven where basically is heavenly realm. It's not this universe.
Yeah.
So where Allah basically giving them this fortune teller, whatever. So I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You see, where light decreases the matter is presence of angels, jinns will hear some information, stealth and burned by flame, blah blah blah. So basically, now they are explaining Allah knows everything, but something He is sharing with His prophets to resolve some contradiction in the Quran. So you see, as you state in your question, some exegesis do mention that what is meant by no one who knows the future except Allah, is no one among mankind. You see now it's angels know is because Allah told them.
Yeah.
Even if there
And
is
also some jinns.
Yeah, no one among creation does not necessarily contradict the aforementioned phenomenon. As explained in detail by Imam Razi, this is because the phrase "his unseen" used in the verse has no indication of generality. It does not necessarily mean all of his unseen. Rather, it could mean part of his unseen. Oh man,
It's amazing, just amazing.
now we have to example 8. For the people who are watching, you can, if you like, stop the video, read the sources, check it. I'm doing a little bit fast because I have a lot of examples and I don't want this live to be like 3 hours or something. So this is example number 8, Surah 6, 74 to 79, and Surah 21, 68 to 70, and Abraham Apocalypse and Bereshit Rabbah. So Abraham said to his father Azar, "Do you take idol for gods? I see that you and your people are in evident error." Thus we showed Abraham the emperor of the heavens and earth that he might be the one of those with certainty. When the night fell over him, he saw a planet. He said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "I do not love this the set." Basically, he said, "The planet, this is my God," but he figured out that it's not God. Then he saw the moon. He said again, no, it's not the God, because in the morning moon disappeared. Then we saw the sun rising. He said, "This is my Lord, this is bigger." But when it set, he said, "Oh, my people, I'm innocent of your idolatry. I have directed my attention towards him who created the heavens and the earth and monotheist, and I am not of idolaters." Also here you have Surah 21. They said, "Burn him." So now he's like basically trying to pursue his monotheism between pagans, and they try to kill him because of that. So they said, "Burn him and support your gods if you are going to act." We said, "Oh, fire, be coolness and safety upon Abraham." So they put Abraham in the furnace to burn him. They planned to harm him, but we made them worst losers. Basically, they didn't succeed. Now we have similar story here that Abraham is talking about the sun, the moon, the clouds, So basically, he's telling that moon is God, sun is God, but they are not gods now, and he's refusing basically he's debunking the polytheist about their beliefs. Also mentioned the stars, similar stuff. And also you have also in the Jewish legends similar stuff, that they put Abraham into the flaming furnace, and the furnace tried to burn him, but nothing happened. God protect him. And even scribal mistakes in one Targum said that lizard, gecko, start like all animals cried, but lizard gecko was blowing into the furnace, trying to make fire stronger to kill Abraham. And because of that, you have Islamic teaching also that was taken by the Jews, that gecko is bad. You should kill that small lizard. And this is originals of this story. Can be dated prior to 70 AD, but probably around the time the temple were destroyed. And it's not, it's man-made story again. And Bereshit Rabbah, you see here, Bereshit Rabbah said when he was fighting Nimrod, similar stuff like, "Let us worship the water, let us worship the clouds." They are like, you see, when Abraham descended into the fiery furnace, he was saved. This is the story from Quran. This is the story when they try to unalive Abraham. So basically same stuff. Example 9. I'm talking on a live because on TikTok sometimes I used on TikTok, so you cannot use word kill or something
Yeah,
like
but you can say kill on alive. It's pretty much the same. So,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Example 9. Targum Sheni and Halakat Mysticism and Surah 2744.
Mm,
So this is the story, by the way, for the people who don't know. In Quran, in Surah 27, you hear a story about Solomon, queen of Sheba. So uh, Solomon wanted to see, does Queen of Sheba have hairy legs? Yes, you heard me well. So he made a trick. He put the glass on the floor of his palace, and she entered. She thought that was water, so she raised her dress, above her knees, and he saw her legs. So this is the Quran. She was
mhm,
told, enter the palace, and when she saw it, she thought it was a body of water and covered her shins. He said,
mhm.
indeed, it is a palace whose floor is made smooth with glass. She said, oh, my lord, indeed, I have wronged myself, and I submit with Solomon to Allah, Lord of the earth. So she figured out that she was tricked, and she repented because she was an idolater in her empire that they worship the sun.
Mm,
This is just to see a little bit clearly
yeah,
because
better.
many people watching from the phone. Yeah.
Mm,
So this is Targum Shani. I don't recommend this book. Don't take me wrong, guys. This is like some kind of polemic book, probably from some Christian. I'm not sure, or atheist. But it's written. This is publication date, but it's written like 150 years ago. So the science advance, the textual criticism advance, history advance, archaeology advance, you have much better books. I just take this book to show it. This is the part of Targum Sheni because you have now here translated Targum Sheni. I had Targum Sheni, but it's on Aramaic, and I don't speak Aramaic honestly.
mm,
So it was said to her, enter the palace, and when she saw it, she imagined that it was great surface of water, and she uncovered her legs. When Solomon said, verily, it is a palace floored with glass. And she said, truly, I have done injury to my own soul, and I resign myself along with the Solomon unto God, the Lord of all creations.
mm. Wow.
Same,
Same,
same.
absolutely same.
Yeah. Now,
Absolutely.
now let's see. This is just for the people to see it, like zoom in.
Yeah.
So this is the original of the story. Second temple, you have Merkaba mysticism, original Halakha tradition, no later than 7th century, and now from 3rd century, Halakha tradition from Merkaba mysticism, no later than 3rd century, mid 3rd century is like 220, 250, 270 AD, this source went to the Quran and to the Targum Shani. So
Yeah.
did it directly? Was it because the dating of Targum Sheni is tricky? Some date it to 4th century, some are dating him in 11th century. But the source about Solomon and Queen Sheba and palace that have like basically floor of the glass was 3rd century.
Mm,
And basically you have academic work on that also that said
yeah.
that is Merkaba mysticism that was basically taken without any further and deeper understanding of
Yeah.
the basically that Merkaba mysticism and written in Quran and Targum Shani. So this is also a story about Adam and Eve, where
Mhm.
basically Michael brought you and made us worship you in the sign of God. You have multiple Gnostic sources that telling that when God created Adam, angels came and bowed down to Adam.
Mhm.
You see, and you can find same stuff in the Quran. Also, you have Book of Cave of Treasures. So, like said, and God make Adam priest, prophet, and Lord, and when angels hear it, they came, they bow down to Adam, but Satan refused it.
Mhm.
And now we see just a moment. Yeah. So And the angels and the host of heaven heard the voice of God saying unto him, Adam, behold, I'll make you the king, the priest, and the prophet, and the Lord, and head and government of everything which has been made and created. And they shall be in subjection unto thee, and they shall be thine, and I have given unto the power over everything which I have created. And when the angels heard his speech, they all bowed the knee and worshipped him. The revolt of Satan. And the prince of the lower order of angels saw what great majesty had been given into Adam. He was jealous of him from that day, and he did not wish to worship him. And he said unto his host, You shall not worship him, and you shall not praise him with the angels. It is meet that you shall worship me, because I am fire and spirit, and not that I should worship the thing of dust, which has with passion of the fine dust.
Mm.
And this is like the old stories that are rewritten, and they were basically like at the beginning of the 7th century written, or probably on the end of the 6th century, but drawing is older sources, so it's not in Quran, doesn't it's predating Quran. So now look what Quran said. And we have certainly created you, O maker, giving you human form. Then we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam. So they prostrated, except from Iblis. He was not one of these who prostrated. So Allah said, what prevented you from prostrating that I commanded you? And Satan said, I am better than him. You created me from the fire and created him from the clay. In the Cave of Treasure, he said, I am fire and spirit, and here is from fire.
Yeah.
And look now, pay attention now. Allah said, descend from paradise. This is plural, 3 or more in Arabic. In Arabic, it's 3 and more. For it is not for you to be argon the rain. So get out, indeed, you are of the debased. Now, if you ask, if you see the Cave of Treasures, Satan was prince of the lower order of angels. In the Cave of Treasures and the Ginzaraba, Sabian book, for example, you have 2 kinds of angels. Angels that are created from light, and angels that are created from the fire. Not fire like we know, but different fire. But nevertheless, in Islam, you have angels who are created from the light, and you have jinns who are created from the fire. And even today, they cannot agree is the Iblis angel or jinn. Most of the Islamic scholars said he's an angel. What's the point? This story in Quran, Surah 17, Surah, I think it was one more, 19, or I cannot recall it. I have one more. But basically, this Surah is talking, actually referencing story from the Cave of Treasures. And in the Cave of Treasures, Iblis or Satan were prince of the lower order of angels who were made from fire. And he was thrown out with all his lower angels that are made from fire. So when in Surah 77:13, it said, descend from paradise, it's on Arabic, plural, 3 or more. It's talking about him and his heavenly host, his heavenly angels made from fire. But because the people who wrote Tafsirs didn't understand it, they said it was Iblis, Adam, and Eve, because he tricked Adam and Eve. But actually, the story originally is for the Cave of Treasure, that was Iblis or Satan were thrown with his angels who were made from fire. And that's the reason you have the problem, because they didn't understand what kind of story Quran referencing. So now Tafsirists and Islamic scholars cannot agree, is Iblis angel or is it jinn? Is it from light or is it from fire? But if they know that it was taken from Cave of Treasures, they will figure out that originally Cave of Treasures, you have 2 kinds of angels, angels of light and angels of fire. And Iblis was angel, but made from fire. Now they said, oh, Muhammad was illiterate, whatever. Now, all Islamic history, don't take me wrong, or like 90% of that is lies, fabrications, or interpolations, or something that is very, very badly misunderstood original story. But even from their stories, you have sources that said that Muhammad, basically, his scribe who knew Hebrew and Syriac, and he receiving letters from the Jews and books written on Syriac.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this scribe translated to him. Now, this is probably a reduction to the past, when somebody are starting ask how your prophet was illiterate, but he know some stuff. So probably it's a reduction to the past in 9th century when the hadiths were written and compiled, basically fabricated.
Yeah.
But because they said, you have chains, we have this, this is stories from 7th century. No, there are stories literally made from the basically 8th or 9th century, when they tried to invent it, cult of that prophet, and they attributed to him throughout so-called Sahih hadiths a lot of crazy stuff. And for the people who don't believe me, this is the coins that was minted in Jerusalem in about 705.
Mm-hmm.
So Islamic caliph that could coin in the same time he was making his own Islamic coins, Ibn Malik.
Mm.
He was making also the coin with the menorah.
Yeah, Jewish.
Yep. And shahada. Yeah, menorah and shahada. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You see? Islamic coins with menorah and shahada. But no, they were Muslims, they were like this, like that. They had their own minting, coins. And before him, Muawiyah minting coins, he didn't took Byzantine coins. He literally minted the coins, similar to Byzantine coins, but put, instead of Byzantine emperor, he put him and his sons on the picture with a crown and cross on the head.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have also some inscription about Muawiyah, Caliph Muawiyah, dating, I think, 660 or 680, that starting with a cross and starting with a Greek text, leader of the believers. They were not caliphs yet. They were called the leader of the believers. They were not caliphs. There were no Muslims. Said leader of the believers, Muawiyah, started with the cross. And you have even sources that Muawiyah visited Jerusalem and visited places of Golgotha when Christ was crucified. And what Muslim teach us today? That Christ was not crucified.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is basically what's going on with when they compiled the Quran. Like I told you, these sources, it was some kind of confederation between these different monotheistic groups. So they put, polemics. They put lectionaries of their preachers all together because they were now one unity, one confederation, and they probably did it without much critical addition. So that's the reason you can find contradictory statements there, because it was not from one group of the people. It was basically from the different preachers of different groups of people: Christians, Jews, Sabians, Manichaeans. So even some part of the Yemenis Persian heretics who were expelled from Persia, and they were basically expelled to Yemen. Mutta, we are talking about Mutta. Mutta is probably from them. Later, Mutta was forbidden because they lost influence, and probably when these groups have their own leaders. First, Muhammad was probably Ilyas ibn Qabisa. He was Persian. He was Persian who was ruling Arabs in Ghassanid kingdom of Arabs who were Christians next to the Persian Empire, and he rebelled against the Persians. But you have also sources that he was very well versed in the Jewish literature. He meant Jews that was expelled from basically Byzantine Empire. They were going back to the Babylonia, and he met them and he talked with them, and you have reported that he was very well versed into the Jewish midrash. So which means that he was maybe originally a Jewish guy, or, like I think personally, he was originally a Jewish rabbi that maybe took Manichaean influence. So he was some kind of Sabian or whatever, Gnostic Jew, or Gnostic Christian. He converted from Judaism to their sect, or he was originally part of that sect, like Sabians, because they knew a lot of Jewish beliefs.
Wait, you're talking about Muhammad now, or
Historical guy, not this fairy tale guy. And later he basically led that confederacy of the Arabs and Persians and Jews, whatever, all together to conquer Persia and to conquer basically Byzantium, because in the Persia you have enemies of the Sassanids. A lot of Persians were enemies of the Sassanids. They were his allies. And later he died, and historically probably the guy who was called in Islamic sources Omar, he was probably a Jew. He was probably a Jew. Could be Sadducee or maybe a rabbinical Jew. I'm more that he was a rabbinical Jew.
Wow.
Did he converted later also to Christianity or something or not? We don't know. But when we, historically, the Muhammad is probably two or three leaders of that confederations that during the time of Umayyads, late 8th century, early and late 8th century, they basically blend the stories about him making some kind of legends of the prophet. And during the Abbasids in 8th and 9th century, because from 850 Abbasids overtook, there were also Persians from the east. There were also close to Manichaeans. That's the reason you have a lot of stories in the hadith similar to Manichaean stories about Muhammad. They continue to develop this story about so-called Prophet Muhammad. And they finished their job because they were claiming that they are descendants of him. So historically, you have 2-3 guys who were leading that confederations. They were not even, I think, all with the same religion. The Ibn Qabiza were a Christian or Jew who converted to Christianity, or Jew that converted to Manichaeism, or eventually maybe Sabian, Gnostic Jew, Sabian, Mandean, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
So that is the first one. Next one is basically who overtook Jerusalem, and it was called in Islam Umar, but he was probably the Jew. Even in Islamic hadiths, you have echoing the story that he was Jew, because when he was killed, and he was buried, I think, on Jewish cemetery, Jewish graveyard.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was him.
I never thought of that, like in a historical context, that it would be possible.
Now when we are talking now honorable mentions, I need to thanks to the people who helped me find out the sources, translated some sources. I took sources from them. So this is one of these channels. This is Rob Christian. For example, I took the sources about this Sahih Hadith that Allah is praying from him. I know for the English one, some I knew, but for this Majma Jawad, the Haytami book and other books that I have, I didn't know, and I didn't know that it's Sahih narration that literally talk that Allah is praying until he gave me. So this is his channel, people. Please follow him, watch his videos. Yes, he's Christian polemist. He's criticizing Islam, but you can learn a lot of stuff to see that it's man-made religion. He's not going so much historically, but you will learn a lot of crazy stuff from Islam that Islamic Dawah, Islamic scholars will not tell you, that will show you clearly that is man-made religion, and that many stuff in this religion is man-made sick teachings, with all due respect, including raping your wife if she refuses to sleep with you, raping your slave girl if she refuses to sleep with you, offensive jihad, jizya, beating depends, believe it or not. But raping is much more worse than beating. So it's crazy, I know. I have a lot of these sources. I will not now share it, all of them, but
we'll leave that for some other live.
Yes. This is next channel, Islamic Origins, Mel from Sneakers Corners, Speakers Corners, both. This is very good channel. This is a channel who is doing academic research of Islam. Many stuff that I learned from him. Not all, but many. I have small also presentation on his channel in live section here. It is like first live on his channel. He also have one more channel. It's called Sneakers Corner, not Speakers, but Sneakers Corner. On that channel, you can also find connection with Manichaeism, Islam and Manichaeism. But also, this channel is very good, and you can find lot of videos in the origins of the Quran. For example, Surah 105, it's not talking about Abraham invading Mecca. That is nonsense. That is historically wrong, completely wrong. It's talking about Maccabees. Here Greek with the war elephants attacking the Judah the Maccabees.
Sasha, I'll just interrupt you for a second because I see in the chat they're asking for links for this channel, but I'll put all the links in the description of the video. So as soon as the stream ends, you'll have it in the description if it didn't appear already. So you'll have all
put
the
them.
links.
I already have sent you, so you can put them there.
Yeah.
It's very good channels. I recommend for everybody who studied the Islam to go to their channels, who doing Christian polemic, and you will see a lot of crazy stuff that you can share it. You can send your Muslim friends, and that you can point out people to go to talk with for example, Arab Christian. For the people who study Islamic sources, study origins of Islam, so criticizing Islam from the historical points, and not just criticizing, studying it. I mean, I even if I don't criticize Islam, when I study this kind of stuff, I see clearly that is man-made religion, and that basically 90% of Islamic history is fabrications, false. There is no pagans, there is no Mecca, there is no pagans in 7th century. Just two. Actually, one of this stuff, basically all Islamic history is debunked. Literally one of this, not two. You have more than two. There is no pagans, there is no Mecca in 7th century. Definitely there is no pagans. If the Mecca existed, it was a small town. It was not a religious center.
Yeah, I read that somewhere that actually Mecca wasn't even a significant center of trade or anything like that.
Nothing. Small village, probably found in 5th, 6th century. Only from 8th century you starting to find records about Mecca, some religion, pilgrimage. That's the reason that they invented it there. They starting from zero and they found place without history and put the Kaaba. Kaaba is the Persian invention, by the way. It's not Christian or Jews, it's Persian. This is now a very good channel also, Islamic critique. Here you can find a lot of sources. Some of them I took it from this guy. Some of them I didn't. But it's a very good channel. It's a great channel. Now I find more sources from his channel, more books that I will study, add to my collection, do additional research. Follow him, and you can learn a lot from this channel also.
Yeah.
Next channel is Orthodox Shahada. The guy was the ex-Muslim. He was Christian, converted to Islam. Then he studied Islam. He speak even Tafsiric Arabic, and he figured out in what kind of religion he was involved. He left Islam and become Christian Eastern Orthodox. Now this is his playlist. I already gave you the link of his playlist. So when you tap the link, you will directly go to his playlist. You will find a lot of stuff about Quran and origins of the Quran. And you will be very, very surprised to see why Quranic stories are similar to the Bible but not the same, and what is the origin of these crazy Quranic stories. You will see it. And how basically Quran is actually telling you one stuff, but Islam, later their scholars did misunderstood it, telling a completely another stuff. Gnostic origins, Talmudic origins from the Ethiopian church influence, like Book of Jubilees, Book of Jubilees, because they have it in the canon. We don't have it, but they do have it, Book of Jubilees. And misunderstanding original Quranic message from the later scholars.
So this channel, I guess, would be good for somebody who wants to be a Christian apologetic to Islam, right?
Yes, but also who need to study. Muslims can also watch these videos because it's good videos, and it's talking about literally why some surahs was written like that, and what is the origins of the surah, what is the sources, who was origins of these surahs, and how Islamic scholars misunderstood it. And it's pretty clear. It's not like opinion, it's pretty clear with the evidence, with the sources, with the words, with the history, with the sources who predating Islam, etc. This is also Orthodox Albanian. This guy is ex-Muslim. He have very good channel. He don't have big, pool of the viewers, but he have good channel. Like here, this, for example, he collected opinions of the scholars, of the linguists. His Quran perfectly preserved, and he proved it's not. You can follow his channel. You can watch. You will find a lot of videos about the Jewish belief in the word of God. That word of God is God and it's a person. It's not blind power. It's not just a representation of God, but it's literally word of God, Son of God. It's on his channel from the Jewish perspective, from the Jewish scholars like Benjamin Summer, like Daniel Boren, etc., who are, by the way, Jews. And this is it. This is it now.
Okay. This was a great presentation. Thank you very much for taking your time. And honestly, guys, it's 1 a.m. here. We're in Europe, so it's completely different. Yeah. And it's,
we need to sleep.
Yeah, we need to go to sleep. But anyway, guys, all of you that you've been watching, thank you so much. It means a lot for us to spread the word and reveal the truth. So we're glad that you were there. Sasha, thank you very much. And also, because we both speak Serbian, I guess Montenegrin, however you want to call it.
Yugoslavian, whatever.
Yugoslavia, yeah. We're gonna make a separate live in Serbian slash Croatian slash Montenegrin, whatever, about the same thing, but in our language, because our YouTube literally has next to nothing on these topics, and I think it would be very good to present this.
I agree also. I agree also.
Yeah.
So you see, people. Well, some stuff about, for example, 65:4, I disagree that Quran originally teach that, but unfortunately Islam took it wrongly and now they are teaching it. But again, that doesn't justify the Quran. It's actually, or Islam is actually showing that it's man-made religion and man-made book, because I show you the sources, many sources from the Quran, not just for 65:4, but other sources that is literally invented in 2nd or 3rd century that even didn't exist before Christ. That some sources have literally copied the Jewish anti-Christian polemic. And to have anti-Christian polemic, you first need to have the Christ. So you need to have the Christ, and after Christ, you need to have anti-Christian polemic. So this anti-Christian polemic was invented couple decades or couple centuries after Jesus. And if you ask any Muslim today, between Jesus and Muhammad, are any new revelation, are any new prophet, they will tell you strictly no. And from this literally logical two deductions, you will conclude that then Islamic belief is wrong and Islam is not from God, because he plagiarized man-made stories, copied man-made stories from 2nd or 3rd or 4th centuries between Jesus and Muhammad. And if you go to exogenesis of the stories, you will see that they are purely man-made stories. Rabbinic polemic against Christianity, or some Gnostic writings, or some fairy tales, or even Jewish midrash legends that are invented by the rabbis from 2nd or 3rd centuries, and even Jews admitted that is just legend, midrash, that are invented by the rabbis. The Jews doesn't believe that they are word of God. They literally believe that a rabbi could give his own understanding of the scripture, his own midrash, and even invented story that everybody knew the story is false, but he's invented the story to make some moral example or moral message or something like that. And Jews does not have the problem with that, because they don't consider this kind of invention, this man-made legend, they don't consider like word of God. But Islam have the problem because these man-made legends that were invented 2nd, 3rd, or 4th century didn't exist in time of Christ, for example, but only later. They are put in Quran and now they believe that they are word of God.
Yeah, they took it too far.
Exactly. They literally took it, man-made stories that are not even meant to be believed like real stories, but some some fairy tales with some moral message, whatever, they took it like real word of God. And that's the problem. That's it. Good night.
Sasha,
go to
Sasha.
walk a little bit and to sleep.
Okay, Sasha, thank you very much for taking your time, and see you in the next live, I guess.
Yes, see you. God bless you all. See you.
God bless you. Ciao. So, guys, that will be it. Thank you so much for watching. And by the way, yeah, I see the question. Uh, I guess this is the first Slavic apologetic channel, Realna Prič. So you can subscribe, I guess, because the next live is gonna be in Slavic language. So you can subscribe, and we'll have a lot of discussions, and we'll take questions from you guys. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. That will be it for this time. And till the next one, stay prayed up, and God bless you. See ya.